Right, welcome guys to our weekly webinar for the technical side of today things. We are going to be discussing the HIK Pro. That's going to be our new features, or not new features, but how to do the setups and stuff like that. And then obviously just there are new little features that comes with it at the moment. Right, so we're going to go right through to the next step, right? So the next option is, if it goes to the next slide, there we go, is the temperature side of things, the VCA, and then obviously we're going to be discussing the image settings. So very quick, very straightforward, and after that we'll have the Q&A as normal. So we've got different models that's available, as you guys are aware. There is quite a lot new things that's coming down the line more. So we will be discussing this. Right, on the temperature, very straightforward. The thermography things of the HIK Pro itself is to detect, not just have the normal bispectrum, but also to be able to have the heat side of things. So this allows us to see the temperature differences as the kettle is basically getting to a boil. You can see how the temperature has changed from where it was to where it is now. All right, so and on the other picture here, you'll see the same thing as well. So even for power lines, you can see if there's any bad connections or overheating connections. Right, so if we jump straight into the settings itself, so this is allowing you to be able to go onto the browser, on the web browser, and then basically log into the camera. So the first thing that we would like to do is on the local, is to basically enable the temperature. That's very important so we can see it on the display itself, not just on here, but also on your NVR. That gives you that capability. All right. Next step is where we're going to be enabling it, and that's going to be right at the bottom for the temperature, so what we would like. So again, each application is different. Each setup is going to be different, so it depends on what your application's needs are. And I would recommend, if it was me, get yourself a HIK Pro camera and play with it. Have different scenarios. Put it to your house kettle, your office kettle. Go and put it by a vehicle. Put it by electrical motor. Put it by a generator. You can see so many different ways of thermography regarding that. And once you start seeing where the applications are, what you can do with it, you'll see there's a lot more that you can do with it. All right. So we can display the minimum, the maximum temperature if you would like to, all those normal settings. Again, like I said, it's up to you, the degree, angle, temperature itself. So it depends on what you basically would like to see. Right. Then from there on, we go to advanced settings. Advanced settings, we obviously select the thermo camera, which will be the second one. And then we can say what we would like to change it to from normal or whatever the case might be. Then we can set up where we need to be, how long the threshold needs to be for the alarm. Very similar to the AccuSense side of setting up protocols. This is basically comes down to the same principle. So that gives you that capability of doing that itself. So you have a normal target, and then wherever the system picks up temperature targets. So that allows you to do that setup. Very straightforward. All right. So over here, we've got just a little bit of an idea. So you've got two glasses. One is hot water, one is cold water. And that's how it's going to be looking on a by spectrum itself. So you can set the camera to basically more focus on the cold side or the hot side. So again, it depends on your application. Yeah, they've got a little video, well, sorry, a little picture, not a video, sorry, of where we're taking hot water. They put obviously duct tape on the one side, which plastic is, it can absorb the heat, where with aluminium it's basically difficult, so it battles to absorb that heat. The same with certain metals, it takes a bit longer. Certain things like wood. So that's what I'm saying, there's certain thermography of how to set up things. A lot of people have that idea of a thermographer side of things for a camera is just there to basically just detect heat. But it's not. There's so much more detail involved with that. The thermography side of things are very technical and very difficult. So we do have special courses for that, but this is just our way of introducing the HIK Pro and how you need to set up the basic settings. All right. So, and on the side also, you can see what the temperature is from the bottom as a color, and obviously to the top. And then we've got different color palettes. So those palettes are basically there for, again, for your setup, what you need to focus on. All right. So yeah, we go to advanced again. So now we've got the picture of the camera. As an example, you can basically pull up your areas that you need. You can set up everything, and you can set up your rules, which we're going to go through just now. So this is from our office. It's one of our cameras facing out of our driveway at our office here in Joburg, South Africa at Hikvision. So in any case, all right. So you can change that to extend it basically. So now you can go to the advanced side of things. So now you can set what your protocols are. So you can set up what you need to do. And we'll go through a little video to explain it a bit better. Yes, it's using the PTZ functions, but it shows you because certain models are very focal and etc. So you can change things around. All right, once you're in it, that will be here at the bottom, as you can see. So that's your template basically. So now you're going to basically go and you're going to add additional ones onto it, what you would like. So the first one is obviously which area that you want to like to call the name, what type it is it a certain point, is it a line, is it an area, and then all your different things that you would like, your degrees, if you need alarm notifications, and then this is how you're going to basically set it up. So the best way to show it, here we have a camera looking at a specific environment. We have put up those rules. So number one, that's the temperature. Number two, that's the next one, the next one, the next one. And then we can focus on maybe the pipeline, and we can put an overgraph to see what the temperature flow would be from the following one. So here's a little video just to show you guys. As you can see, obviously there's something moving in the background there. These ones are at that specific heat. So which means that one is not at the same heat. So that's a very nice way of looking at any business where you might install this. If they've got like conveyor belts or different motors running, you can basically calculate each motor. Again, this is not 100%. This is just an additional tool to help the company to control certain environments. So instead of them employing somebody to look at the electrical motor and test the temperature every hour, the camera can do that for you. So the camera's got two functions. One is surveillance, and the second one is basically, and peace, the second one is basically to check at the temperature of an object. So once the object, let's say it is an electrical motor or one of these motors that's turning, whatever the case is, and one stops, it will alert them via the app or whether they get an email or whatever you do the setups to notify them. The second way is obviously if it starts overheating over a certain temperature, again, it will notify them. So it's not a guaranteed, it's not 100%, it's just an additional tool to help them instead of having somebody permanently there be more proactive regarding it. The previous generation of Heat Pro had a certain degree that was focusing on a specific point, and then it would be 8 plus or minus degrees out. So it's not on the money, but it's there. If you obviously go for bigger thermo cameras, then you have like a 2-degree difference. Now with our new upgraded versions, and that's what I mentioned last week, with our new Heat Pro, the new thermography that they've installed and the updated firmware and everything else is now 2 degrees plus or minus on the Heat Pro, on the new models. That's, you know, you'll be getting your fingers on very soon. So just again, just to show this video, very nice, you can set up. So you can imagine the capabilities as any installer of CCTV where this can obviously be benefit towards you, any company. So you tell the company, we are supplying you with cameras, but we are doing one extra thing for you. It's already on the camera. It's already there. So at nighttime, we can look at your electric box. If there's something that, you know, it overheats and it pops or explodes or whatever the case is, we can notify you, and that allows you to do double function and being proactive. That's just a nice selling point as well. All right, we're going to move along. So basically, yeah, we have certain objects. So as you can see, yeah, we can go and set up and change that shielded area. So this is a line that we've drawn for that area. So we don't want to see all the plants and the trees and all the vehicles that park there and stuff like that. We are more concentrated in specific areas. So you can see we have one area, we have a second area, and then we can also say it needs to ignore the vehicle, so it needs to shield the vehicles, or whatever the case is, certain temperatures. So again, it depends on your application and where you would like to install that and how you want to like to set up, but knowing that you can have that capability of setting it up. So not just that, when it comes to the thermo camera and there's maybe a group of 5 people or 4 people walking, we can individually track their temperature as well. So it gives us that capability of tracking them through this. So it is the baseline of our thermography heated thermo cameras, but it also allows you to do so much more, which is benefit. There's a lot of a benefit there, right? Okay, next one is obviously if you would like to link up whatever you would like. So certain models, not all models, certain models have the built-in strobe light, as our AccuSense will warn an intruder, and it's got the built-in siren. Some do, some don't, depends on the model that you have. So the newer ones are obviously we're trying to integrate that as well, because it's just a very smart analytic. So you can go and say that the client needs to receive emails, a notification to the HIK Connect or HIK Central or IVMS, or it needs to flash, it needs to make the audible warning, etc. And then you got trigger linkage recording. So if you want another overview camera to record as well, a lot of people are not aware of this. You can use this functionality on a PTZ as well. So once the camera, let me just go back. Sorry, my lights went out. Once the camera will detect obviously an object as an example, it will trigger. It will send that notification through to say that I've picked up something. Once it's picked up something, it will get through the linkage side of things. And then you can have a PTZ that can pan and tilt to that area, so it will leave its patrol and do that. We already have that on our normal camera side. We call that our tandem view, which is pretty awesome, where the cameras are built into the PTZ and you have a PTZ and you get that 180-degree angle of recording, which is pretty awesome, just by the way. So keep that in mind as well. And obviously you do that with normal cameras. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to go through what we just discussed, but just in a video, just to quickly show you guys very shortly. All right. And we got some nice soft music there. So this is a server rack, which looks horrible by letting you know. So yeah, now we can change that. And this is where you're going to see the thermography side of things. That's going to be changing and setting all that up. Hope you guys can hear me over the music. Right. So as you can see, now he selected a single color, which is red. Obviously kept it in black and white. That allows you that whenever the object is in there, it will only show red itself. This is where we enable that we would like to see the basic temperatures and what we would like to see on the display as an overlay. Then we go to our advanced settings. And then we obviously, like I mentioned, yeah, we can set up what points we want to concentrate on. So point number 1 and whatever the temperature might be, where it needs to focus on. So this is how you set it up. It's not one of those setups where you just lick and stick and put it in. You need to actually set it up and do some homework. That's why I said the best is to take it. But once you are used to this type of setup and you know what the setup can do for you, you can definitely implement this in so many different applications, and it will turn your business around like you have no idea. Right. So now he's drawing obviously the certain area that he's concentrating on. So it's very similar to what you would do with AccuSense, where you draw lines and intrusion detection areas and whatever you set up is, but this gives you that capability. Now we see the real thing in action. So look how pretty that looks like. You can see everything, all the temperatures, the minimum, the maximum, the average. And then if you have the normal one, you can change that. So I think that's pretty cool for any server person. That will just indicate where there's something going wrong. Yeah, you can see a hot little mug there, see-through cup mug, and you can see the temperature difference, which is pretty awesome. Hey guys, I think it's awesome. Right. Then we've got our VCA functions. Right. Now, so the camera can detect different objects in different ways. So obviously these are humans crossing a line area, or entering an environment area that you set up, right? So again, the ruling is you need to go and configure everything. So once you go into the configuration, you can set up and enable that, right? Just like we did previously now. Oh, oops, sorry. I went one too fast. There we go. So you can enable that VCA function. Once you click on it, you go to your settings and then you can display whatever your rules are, whatever you would like to display. Right. So as we discussed earlier, we have shielded off a specific area, and we obviously started with different rules regarding that. Right. So yeah, we can say this is the line crossing. We are looking for either humans or vehicles or all of them or something else. It depends on, again, your application. You can also set your certain pixels if you needed to. If you really advance in your thermography, this helps a lot to reduce false alarms. A lot of people still think that because it's a thermo camera, it doesn't have that distance like a bigger thermo camera would do. This is the Heat Pro. It's just the normal small one itself. So obviously keep your distance shorter. My recommendation is don't try and keep in that bracket between like 30, 50 meters, but then obviously it depends on your false alarms and what your object is that you're trying to look at. All right. So the next one is our advanced. So yeah, you can also have a look at what that version is. You can also default it. You can reset it. Depends on what your application is. If you made maybe a boo-boo. So let's have a look at the next one. Just going over that settings again. So this allows us to see what those settings are. All right. All right. So you got the camera, you got that overview. We can go and change everything, whatever your application is. Sorry, let me just pause that there. So you can change it if you are more concentrated on fire detection or just basically whatever the analytic is that you need. So you have that capability, and obviously enable the rules so you can see it on your display. Enable your VCA, especially if you do playback or any search of any files. This just allows you to see so much more. There are your rules. So now you can set up whatever your naming rules are on, and naming things, name them correctly, because it helps a lot with any service or any additional things, right? Okay, so that's his intrusion area, or what he's trying to eliminate. So it depends on whatever the application is, how you would like to set up. So this tool is very nice. And that is another thing to mention. When it comes to this type of setup, with majority of thermography type of things and any thermo cameras, the best is to do the calibration, and if you want to call it calibration, is to set it up. Right, you need to have that person straight in line of that view and close as possible. Put a person there, draw your minimum, draw your maximum. That is going to reduce your false alarms or your notifications quite a bit. This setup is a lot of homework, so it needs to be done correctly. So you can see that he has that person minimum, and then he has his maximum. So you can see that differences. Right. Okay. So now intrusion area. He can draw his area that he needs to focus on. So the pixels itself. So you can change that settings as well if you need be, whatever the maximum, whatever the minimum needs to be. So that helps you with reducing that as well. That's why I said for each area is different. So now you can see that's even further away from it. That's why I said you can't really go too far, because now you're making those little boxes, and you can see the size is quite narrow. So now if a person with maybe a motorbike or whatever the case, that could also sometimes cause a bit of an issue. So obviously keep that in mind and keep those rules also in mind. Okay. That is the area that we are basically going to ignore. We don't want any temperatures from that area. We would like to ignore them. And now we're going to see how that's going to look like in both areas. Look at that. Really stunning, much better setup, and less false alarms, less notifications, and more accuracy. All right. All right, on our image settings. So on our image settings, we can obviously change what we would like to see. It's not just on the image settings itself. It depends on what your application is in your environment. So it's going to definitely be a big role that's going to be playing, and how you would like to change that palette of what you need. And as normal cameras, your naming overview, your normal ways of settings and your rules. So we're going to go through that as well. So as you can see now, we say white needs to be heat, or whatever the color needs to be heat. So this allows you to see the actual heat in that environment itself for that specific temperature that you have basically focused on. And you have both areas. So you can change what you need as your color palette that you're basically focusing on. Or you can have the preset ones that are already assigned, so you can go through them and play with them. Like I mentioned, a lot of them already been set. You just need to check what your environment is. And then once you start focusing on what your application is, and then you can start looking at what is available. And I can promise you there's always a tool available for you, and you can set what you need, and it will give you that guidance. So you know that anything in that orange, reddish color is obviously falling into that temperature. So that's going to be like 40 degrees, if I can put it that way, or maybe 38 degrees, whatever the case is. So you know that everything that's got that color is in that temperature. So maybe 20 degrees is green. So everything that are 20 degrees is in that green color. So that gives you that different palettes. So if you want to see more different ways of the degrees of the heat or the temperature that you're basically focusing on, it will show you in that line. Okay. So yeah, you can see we exclude the vehicle from the outside, and obviously we trigger the vehicle because of the minimum, the maximum of the size, and also the temperature. So that is definitely something to work on that you can basically see. And also take note that our thermo cameras needs to be calibrated once a year. So it gets sent to your ND, or it gets sent to Hikvision here by us, and our main person that's in charge of that will do the calibration itself. And when we do the calibration, we got a little box, the black box. So it's a little box. It's actually blue, but it's got a little black little square little block on it. And then we heat it up to, let's say, 40 degrees only. And then we start setting in those devices to keep on detecting to make sure that it's on 40 degrees, 40 degrees, 40 degrees. So we calibrate them in according to that. All right. So now again, yeah, different temperatures, different areas, whatever the case is, and your different color sizes itself that you need. So from your size to your colors, you can set up all of that, right? So last but not least, like I mentioned earlier, our new 2.2 HIK Pro series is now upgraded. So there's better features regarding that. Not just that, it comes with that built-in speaker and a strobe light and the microphone, whatever, you know, like our normal AccuSense would do. It's more advanced with the analytics, obviously, but as the previous model, but not just that, very importantly, that degrees for minimum, maximum, that 2% plus or minus has changed. So it's definitely much better than what it was before. So you get that. And not just that, it also comes with that thermography. That thermography is basically based on the HIK Pro itself now. So you get that capability. We also have this exact model. I'm going to show you guys. We have that exact model. Let me see if I can share that quickly. Give me 1 second. Where is it now? There we go. Come on, I'll be with you guys. 1 second. Okay. Share screen 2. There we go. So we got it also in our PTZ, so it gives you that capability of using that analytics as well as that upgraded version, but not just that. Let me see if I can find it here. Give me a second. Why am I not seeing everything? There we go. Let me find it. I think I went past it already. I might have, yeah. Okay, let's see if I can change that around, maybe. It's not gonna allow me to. Let's find it quickly. I think I'm lost. No, I'm not. I did lose it. Oh no. Ah, there we go. All right. So not just that, we've got the exact same model now of that upgraded version on our solar panel side of the Heat Pro. So it's a Heat Pro camera built onto it, and it gives you that analytics as well. So you get that capability of using that function for that purpose. So this is super, super ideal for a specific area for temporary setup. So any installing company, any security company that needs something for time being, or just maybe for a project, this is ideal. You got a little trailer, you put a pole onto it, and or even just a temporary pole, whatever the case is, or maybe a certain area, you mount that up, put the SIM card, link it to your HIK-Central or to IVMS or to HIK Connect, whichever application you are using, and then basically pull in that camera so you can see what is happening, being more proactive regarding things. So that allows everything. And then that is basically it. So that is just in a nutshell the Heat Pro. And then after this, I'm going to be asking a few Q&As, and I'm going to pause my video. So thanks on that.